Naturally, when you turn the role of commander-in-chief into just another TV character. Don't be shocked when the jokes stop landing.
I've not been a fan of this man's. I don't like how he talks to us. I don't like how he talks to the nation. So I have not really had much to say until he started running for president. Then I could say everything I needed to say. My face said everything.
Trump spiraled on Truth Social, but the breakdown didn't begin with him. It began with Whoopi Goldberg, sitting cool and unbothered on live TV, dismantling him not with anger but with a knowing smirk. One by one, she peeled away the myth, each line sharper than the last. So what exactly did she say that hit him this hard? And why does it feel like, for once, Trump isn't pulling the strings? The footage exists. The words were broadcast and the eerie silence that followed. That was real too? Buckle up, because Whoopi's about to say the one thing Trump can't bear to hear.
He's a New York person and been a New York character. But that being a character on television is a lot different than being the president of the United States, because what you can't do, and what they did for years, which is why people got up and said, you can't talk to me like this anymore. You can't talk about me like this anymore. And people said, oh, you're woke.
So you think Whoopi's just going to let that slide? Hit subscribe if you're backing her. Trump insisted it was all part of some grand strategy, claimed other nations were. In his words, kissing his ass just to strike a deal. But when even his closest advisors can't explain what that strategy is, Whoopi drops the obvious. What plan? And suddenly, the joke lands more like a warning. A man treating the economy like monopoly money, bluffing through trade wars, while everyday workers pay the price. But hold up, because next, Whoopi doesn't just tear into the so-called strategy. She demands to know who's really footing the bill.
He's stuck by his story that all of this is going according to plan. Take a look.
These countries are calling us up, kissing my ass. They are dying to make a deal. Please, please, sir, make a deal. I'll do anything. I'll do anything, sir. And then I'll see some rebel Republican, some guy that wants to grandstand, say, I think that Congress should take over negotiations. Let me tell you, you don't negotiate like I negotiate.
Well, I don't know if they're all kissing his ass to do this, but it seems like even his top advisors cannot figure out what is going on here. What is the plan?
For Whoopi, this wasn't just about politics anymore. When a former president starts pushing false claims, the line between flawed policy and real-world danger blurs fast. So, like she's done for years, she looked straight into the camera and warned viewers, don't take his words at face value. Because whether it's FEMA or tariffs, if the facts don't fit Trump's version of the story, he simply rewrites them. And the fallout. It's not just political, it's deeply personal. But here's the twist. What Whoopi said next didn't just target Trump's agenda, it struck right where he feels it most. Stay tuned, because this is where it really burns.
Now, we have to do one of the things that we do really well here, and that is correct dangerous misinformation that he is spreading about FEMA, hurricane relief. Listen, if you've been impacted by either the hurricane or want to know how you can help, do not listen to anything he says, because he is giving you bad information.
She stared straight into the camera and dropped a question so sharp, the crowd erupted, and for once, Trump had nothing to say. How clueless do you have to be, she asked, to trash talk someone you hired not once, but 4 times?
Because it's one of the words that you-know-who used when he was talking about me in particular, but he was talking about us at his rally. How dumb are you? You hired me 4 times. You can go to William Morris and get the things, because I know you all are going to be looking for it. So talk to William Morris. You hired me 4 times, and you didn't know what you were getting? How how dumb are you?
Trump didn't pull any punches either. From the stage, he hurled insults, calling Whoopi dumb, disgusting, and claiming half the crowd bailed during her performance. Then came the twist. He accused her of being two-faced, claiming she once told him he'd make a great president. But when your entire comeback leans on dated comedy, digs, and personal jabs, it stops sounding like a defense. Starts revealing a grudge that never healed.
The other one asking the question is dumber than Kamala, so she's a dummy. I watched her over the years. That is one dumb woman. Where you have these really dumb people. You know, Whoopi Goldberg said, would you participate in a movie? She made some movie on basketball. This was before I ran for politics. She said, oh, you're so great. If you ever ran for president, you'd win. Politics can do strange things to demented people. Now, I've hired Whoopi to work for me as a comedian before this stuff, and a long time ago. And I went, and, you know, I'm not particularly shy about what I hear. Her mouth was so foul. It was so filthy dirty, disgusting. Half the place left. I said I'd never hire again.
He went after one woman and wound up firing up the entire table. Instead of defending his record or setting the facts straight, Trump handed them more reasons to laugh. Because nothing screams leadership like dodging taxes, throwing tantrums, and calling talk show hosts stupid. That's the strategy. It's no surprise the audience isn't buying the act anymore.
He's just this crybaby with this complex of victimhood, right? Here he is, this billionaire, supposedly, there's this, there's that. All he does is bitch and moan and complain and whine and nag.
That's dude, he's a very small man. He's a very small
Well,
man.
fortunately, I don't know how small he is, but I know he's not big enough to be president.
Record. And he
And that is something.
With a straight face, he called himself an honest man. And maybe, just maybe, that line would have landed if the room hadn't already seen the footage, the tweets, and the timeline. By the time Joy cracked her punchline, the moment had shifted. It wasn't a debate anymore. It was pure comedy. Because when someone lies on camera and then claims honesty 5 seconds later, all that's left to do is laugh and hit replay.
And with all the issues Americans are going to be voting on, you know where they started the interview? Take a look.
It was the episode of you when you were on The View, and I think it was 2015 or 2006, like when you were running for president.
Right.
Okay, let's stop there. There's a lot of fake news coming up, so we're going to clear some of it up as it happens. He was actually, in that clip, is 2011, 4 years before he announced he was running. Okay, that's the first thing they got wrong. Next.
So it turns out Trump has been watching the show. Not the hurricane updates, not the policy briefings. The View. And as for Whoopi, she didn't backtrack or clean it up. She owned every bit of it. The casino bit, the headlines, the punchlines. Because in the end, it wasn't her career that crumbled, it was his presidency. And if you ask Whoopi, that was the real punchline. Now, coming up, we're rolling real clips under fair use for commentary. And honestly, what you're about to see might change how you view the whole thing. Trump thought he could rewrite the past with a grin, until Whoopi hit rewind. What he told Joe Rogan about The View? Let's just say the footage tells a wildly different story.
You got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Barr gives you a big hug. Barbara
promised women
Trump
would be
figured he could twist the past to match his version of events until Whoopi showed up with receipts, complete with timestamps. The clip he bragged about? It wasn't from 2015 or even 2016. It was from 2011. And when your whole defense collapses just because someone bothered to check the date. Maybe the issue isn't bad memory. Maybe it's the hope that no one's paying attention.
Now you know what we're fighting against. But I also also believe that it's very important to remind people that now is the time for each and every one of us to suck it up and make sure that we know what we need to take care of. If you're in an area where the school district is losing, then you got to pay a little more taxes and you got to help the schools out. If you're finding that your libraries are falling apart, you have to give more. This is where we come in. We cannot depend on them. This is us. This is because we all thought, oh, they're talking about somebody else. No, they've been talking about us the whole time. When I say us, we have never been asleep. No one's ever let us sleep because we've had to keep, I'm sorry, baby, because we've had to keep reminding people that women don't want to be spoken down to. Gay folks don't want to be spoken down to. Straight folks don't want to be spoken to. People don't want to be spoken down to. They don't want to be made fun of. Get a better gig. If you're a comic, be funnier. Find a different way than to come after people because of their heritage, which they are born into. It is not a choice. You are.
And just like that, Whoopi dropped the curtain with a level of clarity that left no room for spin. 'Cause this was never about being woke. It was about basic decency, about refusing to punch down for a cheap laugh, about remembering that respect isn't a trend, it's a standard. So if Trump's legacy hinges on mocking the very people he claims to protect, maybe the joke isn't on Whoopi, or women, or the LGBTQ+ community. Maybe the joke's just worn out. From polite applause on daytime TV to blistering takedowns viewed by millions, this episode brought everything full circle. A man once welcomed with smiles now watches his past words played back, dissected, challenged, and rejected. At the heart of it all is Trump's relentless push to rewrite history and weaponize identity. But as Whoopi Goldberg reminded us, memory has receipts. And even laughter has a line. In the end, this wasn't about left or right. It was about whether truth still matters when the cameras roll. This video features a public broadcast in which Whoopi Goldberg made comments about Donald Trump. All content is based on verified footage and widely reported media coverage. This presentation is intended for political commentary, media analysis, and public interest. It adheres to YouTube's community guidelines and falls under fair use policy. If you found this story insightful, impactful, or overdue, hit subscribe. We've got more to say. Thanks for watching.